Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of Milking It with Sofiamiia. And today's episode, I'm going to be talking about being alone, specifically, especially after a big heartbreak or a big life change, because honestly, I'm trying to think. I think I had my first boyfriend in sixth grade. And then, you kind of like on and off date people. And I also am the oldest of 4 siblings. So maybe I was alone I was an only child for about 2 years. So anyway, dated a couple people during high school, dated some people in college. There was probably like maybe 6 to 8 months in college where I was single, but even then you're not really alone, right? Especially for me, I was with my teammates 24/7, never really got alone time. And then when I graduated, I moved back home. And then after I was at home for a little bit, I moved in with my ex, who I ended up being with for a really long time, getting married and divorced. So in 2024 and 2025 was the first time that I was like actually alone in my own space. And it really did surprise me by how uncomfortable and how much I did not like to be alone. And after being alone for a little bit, it just kind of puts it into perspective. I'm like, wait, I feel like most people have never really taken the time to just be by themselves and sit with themselves. And there was a shift probably after I got my place in Long Beach, so in 2025, where I was like, wait, you become a completely different person when you really don't have anybody to call or anybody to text. Or like for me, when I get really anxious and frustrated, I've noticed since being alone that I would take it out on my person, my partner, whoever that was. And then I noticed when I didn't have my partner that I kind of started doing it to the people that were close to me. So either like my friends or my family. So now when I meet people, I don't know like if this is good or not, but if they have like literally never been alone by themselves for like 6 months to a year, I am like, okay, you don't know. We're not on the same level. And I hate to say that. And it's not to say that if you've been with somebody your whole life and you end up being with them your whole life, like that you aren't mature and self-aware, but the amount of maturity and self-awareness that you gain by being alone, I actually would recommend it to everyone. Like I truly think that spending just time by yourself makes the world of a difference. So at first it's uncomfortable, right? Like for the first, like whenever I was alone, I was smoking weed all day, every day. And that's not being like, that is not conducive to healing, to your mental health. It really is just like masking the problem and self-medicating. So it took me a really long time. I don't really smoke weed anymore, especially here in Mexico. Like I have not gone looking for it. I will take maybe a little bit of an edible to go to sleep, but I used to be able to be high in public all the time. Now, if I get high, I get extremely anxious and my confidence level goes like way, way, way down. So I learned to sit by myself, being in solitude. I started journaling. I mentioned that a couple times. Journaling is the number one thing that helped me take myself out of a really dark place. I journal every day. I try to do it in the morning. If not, I get it in at night. And if you don't know what to journal, I would just recommend just writing whatever your thoughts are. I like to use prompts. I like to journal on the full moon, on the new moon, all the fun things like that. But something I also notice when being alone is like the type of thoughts that come to your brain when you finally get a chance to like breathe and let your thoughts come and go, not even within an hour, not even within 24 hours, but weeks, months by yourself. The type of thoughts that come are things that needed to come to the surface. So, for example, when everything happened with my ex, I was very, very angry at her, very pissed at her, very pissed at like, what the fuck happened at the house that you're acting like this, right? But the longer periods of time that I spent by myself, I was like, wait, I have a lot of issues or things that I'm angry about in my childhood or in high school or in college, things that I have done, ways that I have acted that I have not even looked at or addressed my whole life. And I was 30, 31 sitting with this. And then there were also just like some memories that came up that I never remembered before. So with the help of my therapist and journaling, I started working through those. Like I've said, I don't think anybody ever works through everything 100% completely or until like the next traumatic thing happens, right? But I also became a lot more in tune with my intuition. And that is something that I will never take for granted again. Ladies, listen to your intuition. We all have it. I literally was like, I'm not listening to you. My intuition is wrong. I just like suppressed it down. And I actually think that's what gave me a lot of hip pain, especially when I first filed for divorce. Because we do hold a lot of emotions and things in your hips. So the more you do spend time alone, the more you end up having a lower tolerance for bullshit because you're sitting with your bullshit all day, every day. And it got to a point where I was just like laying in bed and laying on the couch and I was like, you need to get out of the house. Like, go for a walk. Like, you just keep hearing this bullshit in your head. And then eventually, after a couple months of all this work, it's like, okay, that was bullshit. And it's bullshit that you're thinking that, but you can change that. Like, you have so much life ahead of you to go ahead and change that. So, to all the people that are out there being alone, I also love this quote. It says, God isolates you before he levels you up. And I really agree with that. I even like yesterday, I was like, fuck, I'm in Mexico. Like I left all my girlfriends. Like I don't even have like a girlfriend to go to happy hour with yet. But I was like, you know what? You've done this before. You've been alone. You've been more sad. You know, you've been near your friends and family and have still felt alone. So I highly, highly recommend if you have not spent alone time or if you are forced to have alone time, please, please, please look on the bright side because, as I mentioned, I feel like I blossomed into this completely different person and the alone time is a big piece of it. Now I crave being alone. And my aunt was kind of telling me this when, you know, I was mentioning I'm going through divorce or whatever. She was like, you're eventually going to be like so content being alone. It's going to be hard to bring somebody into your space, which I would like to imagine. I'm not going to be as hard-headed as that, but we'll see how that goes. Something that I also learned over the last couple years is solo traveling is one of my hobbies. Like now when people ask me like, what do you like to do for fun? I'm like yoga and solo traveling. I decided to go to Spain. I briefly mentioned that in episode 1. And that was the first solo trip I've ever done by myself. And my initial fears were, of course, like I can't speak the language. Like, am I going to be able to get food? Am I going to be able to survive? As a woman, one of my initial fears was also, am I going to be safe? Am I going to get a stalker? Am I going to be taken? Of course. But I was like, I'm a grown woman. I'm just going to go. And if you have the means to solo travel, even if it's not out of the country, I just highly, highly recommend it because the confidence that I gained from just figuring it out all on my own was worth every single penny. And I can confidently say that if I did not go to Spain by myself, I probably would have spent more time trying to work it out with my ex and not getting divorced. There was just something about the trip, like towards the end of it, I was like, oh my God, like if I can survive in Spain alone, I can survive in Long Beach or back in California or back in the States or whatever it is. You have to eat alone. You have to go grocery shopping alone. You have to cook alone. You have to figure out how to wash your clothes by yourself. You have to figure out how to get to X, Y, and Z by yourself. And from speaking to a lot of like close friends and just women I've met, I feel like a lot of us women struggle with self-confidence, whether that's physically, whether it's mentally, and a solo trip will build your confidence like nothing other. So I highly recommend it. So now that I did that, now that I went on that solo trip, I made a lot of bigger decisions. And I got hooked on it. It's kind of funny because after that, I kept wanting to book solo trips, but I kept having friends that were like, well, can I come with you? Can we do this? Can we do that? Obviously, I love a girls trip. So I haven't really gotten to do a solo trip since Spain. Mexico City last April was supposed to be a solo trip for me, but some of my girls came with me. But when I got here, I was like, yeah, Mexico is definitely for me. So my advice, if you want to take your first solo trip, would be something easy. I feel like Mexico is really easy. A lot of people speak English, and like you don't have to learn another language to like gain all the positives from being alone and solo traveling, right? Like if you need to speak English, you need to speak English, but it's just like being in a different area, or maybe just a solo trip within the US, I think is a really good idea too, just to start small. I would love to do a solo trip to Japan or Thailand next, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm in Mexico now. I need to put roots down. What's also really weird for me being in Mexico right now is the last, I would say, 5 years, like since we were able to travel after 2020, I was traveling nonstop. Like, honestly, I think I've taken like 20 flights each year, and it would be, and they wouldn't even be just like big trips. It would be like, oh, we're going to Coachella, and then we're going to Chicago, and then I'm going to Chicago, and then I'm going to Washington DC, and then I have a bachelorette, and then let's go do a girls trip here. So one of my goals moving to Mexico, and I've told my friends and family this, I was like, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm not leaving for at least 6 months. To see if I want to move here permanently. And I also did that the second half of 2025. I knew I was coming to Mexico, and I was like, you know what? I need to spend like, this is going to sound crazy, but I did like 4 months straight in Long Beach, which is the longest I've stayed put. Even when I was living in San Diego, even when I was, now that I think about it, in college, because we were traveling to so many states for games. And it makes a big difference. I know like the jet setter life is kind of like a thing right now. And don't get me wrong, I love to be a jet setting bitch. But if you're struggling with any kind of mental health, anxiety, I think staying put helps out a lot. So that would be my advice. I want to talk about my first couple weeks in Mexico City. I've officially been in Mexico City for 2 weeks as of today. I turned 32 a couple days ago, so that is really exciting. Me and Java, yes, Java is here. If you did not know, I couldn't leave my little bean in the States. Also, my parents said, absolutely not. We will not take your dog. But we landed, and I was just nervous about Java. Honestly, the thing I was most nervous about moving to Mexico was my dog. When we moved to Long Beach, he started getting allergies under his eyes and on his chin, and he would rub his face so much that he would create scabs. But I kind of got a hold of that when towards the end of Long Beach. So I got the paperwork. We landed. You have to go to like this little desk in the Mexico City airport. There was one person working, did not speak any English. I was just like, oh my God, it's happening. Here we go. Starting practicing Spanish, right? They checked it. They checked him super briefly. Honestly, he had scabs on his chin. Not that he's contagious, but I was just super worried about that. We got to the Airbnb. It was probably like 7:00 at night. I'm walking around the streets of Mexico. I'm like obviously nervous. Everything's closed. I'm just like, I just need to find my dog some food because he hasn't eaten because he took a doggy Xanax. And I ended up finding like a 7-Eleven and just grabbed him. Like we just snacked that night. But that was fine. I took the first day off of work. I landed on a Saturday. I took that Monday off. Sunday was just like walking around, exploring. I really was like, oh my God, I don't know why I moved here. Not because I didn't like the area, just because I was like very, very overwhelmed. And then I took that Monday off to go shopping. That was kind of a bust. I did go to Polanco, which is like, I want to say like the higher end area, and they had a mall. They did have like a Zara. I got this sweater from there. People dress a lot more conservative, which I do not dress conservatively really. Now that I'm like transitioning into my 30s, I am looking like to change my wardrobe, which I'm excited to share with you guys on the gram and on TikTok. But so I was like, I need to go get clothes. I really only brought workout clothes and sweats because it gets cold in the morning. So I went shopping. I honestly didn't get as much as I wanted to. After this podcast, I'm going to do like a full shopping day. I'm really excited. And then I couldn't really sleep for the first couple days. I usually have like this magnesium tea back in the States. I'm sure I can find some here. I haven't been able to find any, but I went to like a witch doctor. It's honestly just like a natural grocery store here. And she gave me these drops of passion flower, and the first night I took those, I like passed out. One of my other goals for moving to Mexico City was because it's such a good food scene, was to not cook at all. So I went out to eat every night. The first Wednesday I was here, I got like a tuna tartare from this restaurant. It was so good. But the next day, I literally was walking Java and I almost made it. I made it to the front door of my apartment. I live like on the 3rd or 4th floor with no elevator. And I'm not going to lie, I shit my pants. Thank God I was right in front of my apartment and was able to get in and just hop in the shower. But I was like, okay, like look on the bright side, whatever, at least you're showering. That wasn't a big deal. I learned very, very quickly that especially in the area that I'm living, Roma Norte, since it is so touristy, I feel like the prices are jacked up. I'm not going to save money by eating out every day. So I also am pretty picky about what I eat. I get the ick kind of easily. I'm like a meat and potatoes type of girl. I love tacos, so that works. But I have not been getting nearly as much protein as I should be. So I went to the grocery store. I got these. They're called Lala protein shakes. They're really good. They taste like chocolate shakes. The only thing is I have not drank milk in probably 5 years. I've been drinking like almond milk. I'm very curious about like whole milk and kefir and stuff like that. So we'll see how the protein shakes do in my stomach. And then I randomly came across the Mexican Whole Foods, is what I like to call it. It's like a supermercado healthy. And I found ground beef, which is like a different color than the ground beef in the States, you guys. I feel like the ground beef, I was already really picky about my meat. I would only eat my meat from Whole Foods, anything from Vaughn's, anything from Albertsons, anything from Trader Joe's. Oh, kill me. I hate to be like this, but I can taste the difference in good meat. But the meat at this store that is literally a couple blocks down the street is so good. So this week I finally have been able to be like cooking ground beef, potatoes, beans, got some tortillas, some queso. They have these date protein bars, which I love too. I'm going to share all this on my TikTok and Instagram, so go find it if you're curious. So that was exciting. So now I'm trying to cook a little bit more. I've been putting peanut butter like on sourdough. What's really nice is you could find like the best of the best pan and bread around Mexico City. I went on my first 2 dates in Mexico City. One of them was literally the Sunday after I got here. I obviously changed my Hinge like a week before I got here, right, to scope it out. It was a nice date. Nothing crazy. It's nice to know somebody who is local. And I've just been like, hey, like, is this a washer, dryer combined? Like being able to ask questions. And then I went on a separate date on last Friday with this guy who's a DJ. He was super nice. He was just DJing at a restaurant. I met him and a couple friends. It was really cool to just put myself in a group of 4 people where they were speaking Spanish and I got to practice my Spanish. They got to speak English with me a little bit. And I was just like, wow, this is what I came here for. Like I came here to practice and like just throw myself in it. A couple days before that, I tried to go to a queer language exchange and oh my God, this is so creepy. But I don't know why I was so nervous that I like just kind of like walked around the bar where everyone was meeting. It ended up being a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. So I was like, okay, like screw this. Like I'm not going to go. Like I'm too nervous. But I'm going to try again and I will report back. But that Friday date, both of these dates were great. It was nothing crazy romantic or anything like that. I'm really just trying to meet locals and make friends and be busy. And obviously I'm relaying this to everybody that I'm talking to. But that Friday I got a salmon, which I thought was going to be safe because it was grilled and it had chimichurri on it. It was really good. But the next day on Saturday morning, I woke up with the chills. I woke up with a really bad stomach ache. And I think I got Montezuma's revenge. I had the flu for about 24 to 48 hours. I mean, yeah, it was awful, right? What really bummed me out was this was my first full weekend in Mexico City and there were so many things I wanted to do. I met some girls on Bumble BFF that invited me to like a rooftop bar on Saturday that I ended up having to cancel. I was getting a little worried just because I felt so sick. I felt weak and I had to go get water and electrolytes. And walking through the taco stand section of the street while having the flu is not for the weak. I thought I was going to gag right then and there on the sidewalk. I was like, I cannot. But I got some electrolytes. What's awesome is you can get Zofran over the counter here at the pharmacias. So I did that. And my friend Holly flew in on Sunday and then it was my birthday on Wednesday. We went to dinner a couple nights. Like I definitely had to make sure I didn't push it too much, but it truly only landed 48 hours. So welcome to Mexico. I got Montezuma's revenge. Please let me be good. Everything that I've been like researching and Googling is like, it doesn't work like that. You don't get it once and then your stomach's fine. Your stomach still has to acclimate. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. What else did I do my first week here? I got my nails done. If you guys can see, they do have Gel X. When I booked the appointment online, you have to book like everything separately, like remove of an old acrylic nail, add a pedicure, add Gel X, add if you want French or a design. They make you put everything up front so there's no surprises. And it said my appointment was going to be 4 hours. I was like, I don't think that's right. That's not going to work. So of course I walk to the nail salon. I went to Calma Nail Bar. I walked to the wrong locations, you guys. So from there, I get to the wrong location. They're like, you're in the Roma location. All this is in Spanish. I'm like, obviously getting hot and sweaty. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Am I going to make it? Like, I'll call an Uber. They're so sweet. She literally was like, this happens all the time. And I get to the nail salon, and why it takes so long is when you book all these things, you book with the same technician. It's not like America where they're trying to get you in and out as fast as possible, and like somebody's on your hands and somebody's on your feet. So it's also a very social event. Like the amount of like the girls just like chit chatting, and then like their friends would come in and just sit with them, even if they're not getting their nails done. Everybody has like a cafe or a tea. And I was like, okay, 4 hours is a long time, but I get it. It's cute and it's fun. So the next time I'm probably going to book like a pedicure and my nails like on separate days, so I just don't have to be there every day. Luckily, I'm currently reading an awesome book. I'm reading Coming Home by Brittany Grinder. I'm surprised it took me this long to read it, but I literally finished like half the book while sitting and getting my nails done, while also trying to eavesdrop everybody's conversations because I'm just trying to learn Spanish. I will say, I feel like my Spanish has gotten so good in 2 weeks, and I have gotten like a couple compliments from some bartenders. They're like, your Spanish is really, really great. So that's fun. My best friend was here for my wedding. I honestly we had the most wholesome time. Something that I've noticed is the city dies down around like 10 o'clock at night. I'm sure I know that there are clubs and like things to do, but there has been a couple times where I'm like, I'm in the city, like I should be out later, right? And I feel like this is just the perfect place for me because if you don't know me, I like to call it at like 9 or 10. I don't know what it is in my body that is just like, Sophia, it's time for you to go to bed. No matter how lit I am, no matter what I'm doing, for some reason my body is just like, nope, it's time for bed. So it just kind of solidified me why I chose Mexico City. I want to be out during the day, meeting people, talking, being social, and then I do want to call it at like 9 or 10. So it was just nice going out with my friend. She came from a festival weekend in Tulum, and then obviously I was coming off having the flu, so it was nice. We could just like go out, and then we would come to home around like 8 and watch like a couple movies and then go to bed and just spend some wholesome time together. I'm like, Holly, this is 30, this is 32. But I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I can just feel my energy shifting here. I feel lighter. I have learned like 3 different yoga moves already. All the people in my yoga class are like amazing at yoga. Like today I did a fucking headstand, obviously with the help of the instructor, but I was just like, this is wild. But my body composition from doing like planks, a bunch of yoga stuff, I feel strong and light, and I just feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So growth feels uncomfortable. I feel like the last 2 years I have felt so uncomfortable the entire time that now just feeling uncomfortable for a moment, for an hour while I'm trying to speak, no pasa nada. It's nothing now. Like it's not a big deal. And I also want to say thank you guys for the DMs that I've been getting from just having one episode up. I know that this episode 1, I know the mic didn't sound perfect. I'm hoping it sounds better on this episode. I know it feels a little bit choppy. Again, I'm kind of learning as I'm going. So any feedback you have for me, I am a super open book. There is nothing you can tell me that will hurt my feelings. I don't think. Don't try that. But if you're like, hey, the sound didn't sound good here, or I don't know, the camera looks weird, I'd love to hear it. And I want to just close this podcast off with you are the most important relationship in your life, and please make sure that you're taking time to nurture that. So take some alone time. whether it's for a day, whether it's for a weekend, whether it's for an hour, whether it's for a couple years. I think that it makes a really, really big difference. And thank you for listening. I'm going to go shopping, and I'm excited to share with you guys what I get and what's in store for this next week in Mexico City. Ciao, ciao.